What's up, y'all? It's your girl Iamtlouise, and you are tuned in to Twisted 20s. Today's podcast episode is sponsored by my company, Passion to Paper Academy, where we specialize in branding for small businesses. And you can check us out at passiontopaperacademy.com. Welcome back to Twisted 20s. I'm so excited. First of all, I just want to say thank you for getting Twisted 20s to 1,000 plays, y'all. There is, I can't even really describe how I'm feeling right now to understand that Twisted 20s has had over 1,000 plays. Like, that many people have listened to my podcast, and it's just extremely just mind-blowing, and I'm just so blessed to know that it's been that many people that have heard the things that God has placed on my heart to express, the things that have been placed on my heart to help others in a way while I'm also going through the things that I'm going through. So it's just truly a blessing, and I'm just so grateful and so thankful for that. As you guys know, the last episode I took a little break because it took a lot of energy for me to really put that project out. But that was the kickoff for our series, Purpose Chasing. And today's podcast episode, I'm going to be talking about the purpose behind your purpose. Everybody has a purpose. I think oftentimes people struggle with understanding or maybe finding their purpose. And so I'm going to be going a little more in detail about finding your purpose, how I found my purpose, and just overall what is the purpose of having a purpose and how your purpose affects someone else. So with that being said, y'all, we are getting ready to get into today's podcast episode. So I've felt called and really led to really do this podcast series. Normally I do like a podcast episode is different every single season. But this time I decided to dedicate a season solely to purpose. And I feel like it's very important, especially in these times, that we get on assignment and that we understand what our purpose is in the assignment that God has for us, the assignment that He needs us to be in. And so I've been listening a lot to Jerry Flowers, and he's been helping me a little more to understand, purpose and the meaning behind our purpose. And so for me, the reason I've come to understand why we have a purpose is so that we're able to help someone else. I think oftentimes, and I know for me, as an example, I'll use myself because what better person to use as an example but self. When I first started understanding what my purpose was, I was using my purpose for my own selfish reasons or my own selfish gain, or this is what I want to do. I want to do this. I want to make money. I got this idea. I'm going to do this. And I. And soon, I quickly understood that the reason we have a purpose is so that we can serve and help someone else. And I think that I kind of realized what my purpose was literally like a couple weeks ago. Maybe like a month or so ago, I actually had a full-blown revelation of like why I've been doing this podcast, why, I've always enjoyed writing and entertainment and things of that nature. And so when I realized, I was like, bro, like, there's a reason why I have 1,000 plays on my podcast. There's a reason why people listen to my podcast and they feel moved. There's a reason why people listen to my podcast and they're able to get something from it. And I understand that my purpose is for me to serve and help others. And the moment that I understood that, I was able to actually move forward with the things that I needed to do to progress with my purpose in life. I honestly feel like my purpose, a part of my purpose, because even though we have one sole purpose, our purpose can be used in multiple different aspects. So one aspect could be my podcast, the other aspect could be my business, passion to paper. The other aspect could be major comeback. So, but my passion and my purpose is my voice. I'm able to speak a certain way. I'm able to speak and see certain things. I don't know why. God just gave me this gift, and that's, I never really understood that, but all through my childhood, like, people would always come to me for advice. I was always the one that was giving someone sound advice, not no advice that's gonna get them in trouble, always something sound. And I feel like that's how my podcast has been. It's been that outlet for me to give people sound advice while I'm on the same journey that someone else is on. We're just on different paths. And so that's initially why I started Twisted 20s, because I wanted to be able to share my 20s, my journey of my 20s with other people, so that people who are out there, just like me, who have been going through the things that this life has thrown at us, that we're able to maneuver differently, and we can be able to understand why we're going through the things that we're going through, if that makes sense. And so one thing that I want you guys to understand, and that I want you guys to know, is that your obedience and your yes is tied to someone else. This is something that was very, very hard for me to understand. It took me a long time for this. Like, literally, the reason why I'm up doing this podcast is because I was going through the motions. I was feeling down. I'm like, man, like, I don't feel like anything is moving. And my boyfriend, being the godly man that he is, he was like, okay, come on, we need to listen to Jerry. You need to hear some words from God, because you're not finna be sitting around moping around, sad about your situation. And listening to Jerry, consistently, because I listen to him on a regular basis, and I literally say I'm hearing God through him, because I literally believe this man is a PA system from heaven. Like, the things that God has sent through him to me has been very powerful and life-changing. And listening to him, it made me understand that the reason why I feel so stuck in life is because I'm not doing anything. God has already shown me the things that I need to do, but I haven't been implementing consistency. I haven't been implementing dedication. I haven't been implementing what is the word I'm looking for? I haven't been devoted to the things that God has placed on my heart and has placed and has given me to do. So I haven't been obedient, okay? I haven't been obedient. I've been really inconsistent. So I haven't implemented the key of consistency. And that's been my problem for a while, is being consistent. And that's something that I'm still trying to figure out along on my path. And that's one thing that I've been asking and praying that God reveals to me, is why have I been so inconsistent through my life? Because it's been a time where I've just always started and stopped, started and stopped, started and stopped. And I don't understand why I've always been like that, especially when I know that I have bomb ideas. I know, I always have a vision, but I end up always stopping somewhere along the way. And I never could understand why. And so when I tell you guys that your obedience and your consistency and your dedication is tied to someone else, that's exactly what I mean. Simply, when I say that, I mean this. Your purpose is always tied to someone else's purpose. Your purpose is always tied to someone else's. So when you decide to say, yes, I'm going to fulfill the purpose that God has ordained for me, now you're being placed in the situation where you're able to fulfill your purpose, And like I said earlier, your purpose is always going to have to deal with helping and serving others. And that is why your purpose is tied to someone else's purpose. And so when you say no, and when you being inconsistent, and when you being stubborn, and when you're in your own head and you're thinking about, oh well, no one's gonna subscribe, no one's gonna listen, no one's gonna read it. When you're in your own head, you're preventing someone else's purpose. And that's how you have to look at it, because it's like our purpose is not just for us. Our purpose is for someone else. And if you're a person that's selfish, a person that has always been about themselves like I have, it's going to be really rough for you to let that go and focus on serving someone else other than yourself. And I'm speaking from experience. It's been really hard for me. And I feel like maybe that's why I've been so inconsistent with things. Because the only reason you can stay consistent and motivated in anything that you do is the motivation behind it is going to have to be another reason other than yourself. Because when you don't see the proof, or when you don't see the fruit from whatever you've been what's the word I'm looking for? When you don't see the fruit of your labor, basically, it's easier for you to give up. But let's just say, for example, if you're doing something for, let's just say, your mom or your grandma or your family or someone who needs you, it's a little bit easier for you to keep pushing because you have someone depending on you. And that's why I say your purpose is always tied to someone else, because your purpose is never about yourself. It's always about someone else and how you can help the next individual. My podcast, the reason why I have a podcast is not just for me. It's so that someone else can hear what I've been through, so that someone else can hear how I made it through what I went through, and they feel like, and they get the strength to make it through what they're going through. And so the moment I actually realized that, I was actually able to understand my purpose a little bit better. And so that's why I say that your purpose is always tied to someone else's purpose. I wrote some notes down so that I can be able to keep up with everything. And so another thing is, this is like my key thing to helping someone discover what their purpose is. I feel like when it comes to our purpose, I've realized that oftentimes, like, the passions that we had in our childhood is oftentimes connected to our purpose. So when I was a kid, I used to draw my own clothes out. Like, I wanted to be a fashion designer, but I also used to be really heavy in like writing. I wanted to be into TV and film and things like that. And along the way, as I got older, I kind of lost that passion for those things. I still like to write. I still enjoy creative writing and things like that. But as I got older, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And like literally right before I graduated high school was when I changed my major at the last minute. I was like, no, I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to follow my passions. And ultimately, I ended up doing just that. I went to school for film production. So ultimately, the passions that I had as a child has led me to this exact point that I'm at right now. Doing a podcast, doing YouTube, starting a business, doing clothing. So all those things that I had developed in childhood, I really feel like if you can just go back and you can just think about, what were you passionate about when you were a kid? What things did you enjoy doing as a child? And if you can just like think about those things and understand how those things could help someone else, then somehow those passions can be tied to your purpose. And that's just my personal opinion. And so that's the thing that has helped me. It may not work for everyone else, but just think about it. If you had a passion when you were a child, figure out how that passion can connect to a purpose, and figure out how you can use that passion to serve and help someone else. So just figure out how that passion can help and serve other people. And so the point of a purpose, once again, y'all, is to serve others. I know this podcast episode was really short and sweet because I'm really trying to get to the point where I just get to the point, because I'm really understanding that people's attention spans are not as long as they used to be. And so a lot of my podcast episodes, I'm really just going to start coming out the gate with it, just giving y'all the straight tea tips and just the meat of the episode. And so I really hope that this episode was able to help you understand a little better the purpose behind a purpose. We all have a purpose in this life, and I think sometimes we wander along, in life, wondering what we're here for, because we're constantly doing things that have nothing to do with our purpose. So of course we feel unfulfilled. And I'll use an example. All through high school and college, I worked 9-to-5 jobs. I never felt fulfilled. I always felt like I was supposed to be doing something more, something greater than working and slaving for somebody else. Like, I just always felt like I was supposed to be doing more. Like, I always felt like I was made and destined for more. And if you have that feeling, and it's not a feeling that you feel in your heart, I mean, it's something that you feel in your soul. You feel it with your whole body. Like, you ever roll out the bed and you like, bro, I do not want to go to this job. Like, back to the plantation. like that's how it feels. And ultimately, y'all, when you feel like that, then I just suggest that you guys just kind of just take a step back and really ask and really look for an answer, and ask, what is my purpose? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? I'm not feeling fulfilled. What is it that I was created for? Because we're all created for something. And if my little cousin is listening to this podcast episode, this is for you. This is for the people out there who feel like they don't belong on this world. Belong in this world. These are for the people who have been suffering with depression, suicide, feeling like they're not worthy, feeling like just down in the dumps. This is for me. Okay. This is for y'all. Okay. You have a purpose. Let me look at the camera when I say this, y'all. Don't forget, Twisted 20s is on YouTube now. You have a purpose. You were created for a reason. Do not let temporary situations, temporary emotions become permanent. What you are currently going through is only temporary. It's not something that's going to happen forever. So do not let temporary things cause you to have permanent damage. And that's the one thing that I've learned on this journey of finding my purpose, from coming from depression and dark times, is just simply understanding that. And like I said, I know this podcast episode was really short, but I really hope that this podcast episode reaches the person that it needs to reach. And I just hope that you guys are able to truly find your purpose. And I pray that you're able to fulfill the purpose that you have been created for. So with that being said, y'all, make sure you guys tuned in on Friday at 9 a.m. for a new episode of Twisted 20s as we continue this journey of this purpose chasing series. I love you guys. Peace, love, and blessings. Iamtlouise.